Before he was the mayor of Parramatta, Ken Thornett was running a different rugby league town, Leeds. An Australian fullback who came to England to class wool, not to chase glory, and somehow ended up helping Leeds win their first ever championship, turning Headingley into his own personal kingdom. This is the story of how Ken Thornett became an Australian legend who ruled British Rugby League. Parramatta fans know the name, the Ken Thornett stand, the Mayor of Parramatta, the fullback who helped drag the Eels out of the wilderness. But rewind a few years and head to the north of England, and you find Ken Thornett in blue and amber, playing 131 games for Leeds in the early 1960s, scoring 19 tries and anchoring the side that finally broke a 65-year title drought. And the wild part? Leeds only got him because of a wool job and a tip-off to another Australian legend, Arthur Clues. Before League made him famous, Thornett was a rugby union back with Randwick in Sydney, a genuine Wallaby prospect until knee trouble slowed that path. Off-season, he switched codes completely into the pool. He was a top-class water polo goalkeeper for Bronte, winning New South Wales premierships. It's a part of his story most fans never hear about. Safe hands, brilliant positioning, rock solid under pressure. All skills that would soon show up at fullback. Then in 1960, Thornett hopped on a ship to England. Not on a big money contract, but to work as a wall classer. Football was almost a side hustle. At Leeds, the connection was Arthur Clues, the Australian hard-man forward who'd become a Headingley favourite and an unofficial player scout for the club. Letters arrived from Australia raving to Clues about the talented footballer who had just landed on Leeds' doorstep. On his recommendation, the club invited Thornett over for an A-team trial at Headingley in early 1960. In that game, he was so assured under the high ball, so strong with his now famous iron palm fend, that the Leeds committee promptly signed him to a 3-year contract on the back of what their own history calls a highly impressive display. From his very first matches in blue and amber, he galvanised what had become a fairly staid Leeds side, giving them a new confidence and counter-attacking threat from fullback. The impact showed up on the ladder. In 1960-61, Leeds topped the table, took out the Yorkshire League and rolled into the Championship final to face a Warrington side that included the greatest try scorer in rugby league history, Australian-born Brian Bevan, the Wing Wizard. In that final, on the 20th of May 1961, in front of more than 52,000 fans, Leeds finally got their hands on the trophy they'd been chasing for 60 years. They led 10-0 at half-time thanks to tries from Jack Fairbank and Colin Evans, then blew the game open after the break when centre Derek Hallis crossed twice in a 5-minute purple patch. Warrington's late rally produced 2 tries to Jim Challoner, but it was never enough, and fittingly, Captain Lewis Jones finished them off with a solo try and 5 goals in a 25-10 win. Leeds' own history says they reduced Warrington to bewildered also-rans, and right at the back of it all was Ken Thornett, playing the game of his life. Safe under every kick, thundering back in those splay-footed counter-attacks and cutting down anyone who dared come through his patch. For Leeds, it was the holy grail at last, and for an Australian fullback on a working holiday, it was the day he ruled British Rugby League. Thornett spent 2 more seasons at Leeds as their first-choice custodian. The club couldn't quite recreate that championship miracle, but his reliability at the back, week after week, meant that by the time his original deal was winding down, Australian clubs were queuing up, and Parramatta were ready to bring their future mayor home. In Australia, Thornett would become known as the Mayor of Parramatta. But here's the twist most Eels fans don't know. The nickname actually started with his stint in Leeds. On his return home, he was selected for the 1963-64 Kangaroo Tour of England, where the Australian team spent a lot of time based around his old stomping ground in Leeds. Thornett, by then, was a local superstar. He knew every lane, every pub, every cafe, and wherever the Kangaroos went, Leeds fans flocked to him. His teammates started joking that he hadn't just played for Leeds, he must have run the place. They began calling him the Mayor, a nickname that followed him back home and morphed into the Mayor of Parramatta that Eels fans still use today. So before Parramatta claimed him as their mayor, Leeds did. During his English sabbatical, Thornett had transformed Leeds from the back, helped deliver that historic championship and become a cult hero to all Leeds fans. Back in Sydney, he'd go on to lift Parramatta, star in that Ashes-winning 63-64 tour and have a stand named in his honour. But the legend of his nickname, the Mayor, had its origins on those cold, mud-soaked winter fields in Yorkshire. If you enjoyed this story and you love seeing how Aussie greats lit up UK football, check out my playlist, Australian Legends Who Ruled British Rugby League. Link is in the end screen. I'll leave you with that thought.